Hi guys, I'm Lana.
And I'm Jeff.
And this is the Second Breakfast Club. And today we're doing something a little bit different. Usually we listen to songs, or we did our series on the Bangtan universe. Today I was thinking, what on earth could we react to that you might find interesting? And I remember this group actually does a lot of charity work and a lot of just good work around the world. And they got invited last year to speak at the United Nations General Assembly as I think it was they were doing something with like goodwill ambassadors either for UNICEF or I mean they'll probably correct me here, but it was like they brought in a few popular people to talk. And I don't think much was expected of them.
Right.
But I actually really liked the speech. It's pretty short, but I thought it was interesting. So and it's in English. So let's watch it.
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Go.
They have literally millions of followers around the world, and my younger sister tried to stop me from coming today because she wanted to come here instead of me to see BTS speak. I'm grateful to the UNICEF Executive Director, Ms. Fo, for making this possible.
They're
for
UNICEF
BTS,
partners.
who are recognized as UNICEF's Goodwill Ambassadors for the Generation Unlimited partnership, to be with us here today. The floor
They
is
actually
yours.
did a lot of good charity work with UNICEF. With the whole campaign was about decreasing domestic violence and bullying for kids.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary General, UNICEF Executive Director, and all the excellencies and distinguished guests from across the world.
He wrote this speech too.
My name is Kim Namjoon, also known as RM, the leader of the group BTS. It is an incredible honor to be invited to an occasion with such significance for today's young generation. Last November, BTS launched the Love Myself campaign with UNICEF, building on our belief that true love first begins with loving myself. We've been partnering with UNICEF's End Violence program to protect children and young people all over the world from violence. And our fans have become a major part of this campaign with their action and with their enthusiasm. We truly have the best fans in the world.
Get that plug in there.
And I'd like to begin by talking about myself. I was born in Ilsan, a city near Seoul, South Korea. It is a really beautiful place with a lake, hills, and even an annual flower festival. I spent a very happy childhood there, and I was just an ordinary boy. I used to look up at the night sky and wonder, and I used to dream the dreams of a boy. I used to imagine that I was a superhero who could save the world. And in an intro to one of our early albums, there's a line that says, "My heart stopped when I was maybe 9 or 10. Looking back, I think that's when I began to worry about what other people thought of me and starting seeing myself through their eyes. I stopped looking up at the night skies, the stars. I stopped daydreaming. Instead, I just tried to jam myself into the malls that other people made. Soon, I began to shut out my own voice and started to listen to the voices of others. No one called out my name, and neither did I. My heart stopped and my eyes closed shut. So, like this, we all lost our names. We became like ghosts. But I had one sanctuary, and that was music. There was a small voice inside of me that said, "Wake up, man, and listen to yourself." But it took me quite a long time to hear music calling my real name. Even after making the decision to join BTS, there were a lot of hurdles. Some people might not believe, but most people thought we were hopeless. And sometimes I just wanted to quit. But I think I was very lucky that I didn't give it all up. And I'm sure that I and we will keep stumbling and falling like this. BTS has become artists performing in those huge stadiums and selling millions of albums right now, but I am still an ordinary 24-year-old guy. If there's anything that I've achieved, it was only possible that I have my other BTS members right by my side, and because of the love and the support that our ARMY fans all over the world made for us. And maybe I made a mistake yesterday, but yesterday's me is still me. Today, I am who I am with all of my faults and my mistakes. Tomorrow, I might be a tiny bit wiser, and that'll be me too. These faults and mistakes are what I am, making up the brightest stars in the constellation of my life. I have come to love myself for who I am, for who I was, and for who I hope to become. I like to say the one last thing. After releasing our Love Yourself albums and launching the Love Myself campaign, we started to hear remarkable stories from our fans all over the world, how our message helped them overcome their hardships in life and start loving themselves. Those stories constantly remind us of our responsibility. So let's take all one more step. We have learned to love ourselves. So now I urge you to speak yourself. I like to ask all of you, what is your name? What excites you and makes your heart beat? Tell me your story. I want to hear your voice. I want to hear your conviction. No matter who you are, where you're from, your skin color, your gender identity, just speak yourself. Find your name and find your voice by speaking yourself. I'm Kim Namjoon and also RM of BTS. I'm an idol and I'm an artist from a small town in Korea. Like most people, I've made many and plenty mistakes in my life. I have many faults and I have many more fears, but I'm gonna embrace myself as hard as I can. And I'm starting to love myself gradually, just little by little. What is your name? Speak yourself. Thank you very much.
All right. So that's their UN address.
Incredibly impressive, strong.
Really?
Oh yeah,
thought
I've
so,
heard
too.
a lot of addresses before.
Especially from, like, I don't know, a pop group. People don't expect them to say much, you know?
Well, you have different kind of pop groups. Basically, what he has is what I consider, under my definition, humility, which is
Yes.
teachability.
Yes.
It's not degrading yourself. You can be proud of yourself. You can be proud of your accomplishments as long as you recognize that you have mistakes. You can learn and you can continue to progress. That's humility.
Yes.
It's not that part of putting yourself down to make yourself look bad.
Yeah.
That's called health. I would consider that a healthy humility
Yeah.
and an understanding that you can't really love others until you really love yourself. But then once you love yourself, it's okay to come out of your shell and say, this is who I am.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I like. It doesn't have to be necessarily what everyone else wants me to like.
Yeah.
It's not what other people are telling me to like. And I wish a lot of American politicians could figure that out,
Right.
because
Politicians worldwide, to be honest.
there are too many of them who are only voting the party and voting to get reelected. They're not voting for basically anything they believe in. And it's sad.
Yeah.
So what
Like
he's
you
trying
said,
to get
they become ghosts.
what a lot of these people who are representing all these countries have done is they've taken the positions that they need to gain that piece of power. And he's saying, wake up, people, start being real. once you learn to love yourself, then you can become real and you can accept the fact that you are different than other people and you're going to have your own voice and your own beliefs and your own loves. It's great talk. Great talk.
Yeah.
I don't know how many of these people who were sitting there took it to heart compared to just thought, oh, that's a nice talk.
Mm-hmm. I also really appreciate his message about it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to make mistakes. I feel like a lot of people these days think that if you're wrong about something, it's like shameful. You'll fight it. Like, I wasn't wrong. Like, it's okay to make mistakes, and it's important to own who you were.
Right.
Even if it was a time where, like, you find it kind of cringy or you didn't like who you were in the past or, you know, that was still you.
Yeah, and you don't have to keep that hidden like something that you're always afraid someone's going to find. It's okay to have done stupid things in the past so long as you've recognized it, you admit it, you've moved on.
Yeah, and for him in particular, there's a line he said there of, you know, even when I found music, it took a long time for it to speak my real name. And I think he's alluding there to the fact that for the first couple years of them doing music, he thought he had to be like the macho rapper. He was almost a parody. Like, he came out with a fade in their first year. And that's when he was called Rap Monster. He changed his name because he's like, that wasn't me. That wasn't it was a piece of me, but it's what I thought I should be.
It was a box that I'd forced myself into because people wanted me in that box.
So in that context, even, I think it's interesting that he can say, oh, my whole life is on video. You can go see this part of me that embarrasses me now, but it was still me.
Yeah.
And so same for you. Like, not you personally, but like him speaking of the royal
Yeah, because
you.
I've never made a mistake.
No, just like even if you were a totally different person at one time, not only is it important to own it and to love yourself, but to admit that it was part of yourself. It wasn't like a moment of craziness. That was you.
And no matter who you are, you have made mistakes.
Yeah.
And you
and
have
you're
done things
going to make mistakes.
Yeah. Anytime I'm thinking I'm doing these great things, especially at work or other places like that, and my head gets really, really big, I do something really stupid that just went, deflates it right back down.
Yeah.
It happens. It happens to everyone. That doesn't mean you can't love yourself just because you make mistakes. You can't love yourself just because you're human. Even though a lot of times I've eaten myself
You should
up
love yourself
for that.
because you're human.
Yeah, though I hate being human because humans make mistakes. I'd much rather be a robot at sometimes.
Well, gotta take it to heart, man.
I know.
I also like the implied message that, like, loving yourself isn't just about, like, vanity. Or isn't, you know, there's, loving yourself also means admitting and accepting yourself, not even lying to yourself about who you are.
Right.
You know, I think a lot of times people will think something of themselves that even everyone around them wouldn't agree with because they don't want to admit that, like, they're a jealous person or they can be a petty person or whatever. But really loving yourself comes when you either own that part of yourself and say, okay, you know what, I am kind of a petty person. Like, I'm making a conscious decision that this is part of who I am. Or you figure it out and you figure, I don't like that about myself, and you work to get rid of it.
I know there's so many artists who go through their career and their whole life is based on how their fans like them, what they want. And he mentions, I'm an idol, but I'm just still a person from a small place.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a normal 24-year-old. Like,
and there are a lot of musicians who, once they fail, they no longer have the fans following them, are desperate for that because they've built their whole self-esteem on that. And as long as he can keep that idea that I am, they may make me an idol, but I'm still who I am. I'm still a boy from a small town.
Yeah, I'm RM, and I'm also Kim Namjoon.
Right, you know? And I've retained my identity. Then when the fame goes away and you walk into some place and they don't know who you are, you're still okay with yourself.
Yeah. Their last couple albums in particular, the last album they put out was called Map of the Soul Persona, based around Jungian theory. But the entire concept there, they've been doing a lot of stage shows with masks and stuff, acting like marionettes and all that. a lot of that is exactly what you're talking about. They all have talked very bluntly about this fear that they have who they are, and then this persona that is what everybody thinks of them.
Right.
And they're filmed so often and on tour so often, especially Namjoon has been like, there'll be times where I can't remember who I am. Like, I worry that I'm becoming my persona and losing this person. So there's been this concerted effort of developing himself as a person alongside this artist.
Or maintaining his identity in spite of it.
Yeah, because I think you're absolutely right. So many famous people wither and die when the fame goes away because they just became their famous version of themselves. They don't have it anymore. And I think that could apply to all of us. If you wrap your identity up in your job or your place in a community or whatever.
Yeah, I've seen the same thing with people who are retiring and suddenly they don't know who they are because they've always seen themselves as this professional person in this business, and now they're retired and it's kind of like, I'm nobody anymore.
Yeah. Or even, a lot of their fans are teenagers. Think about, like, a lot of really popular high schoolers who are suddenly in college. They were big fish in small ponds scenario.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to, like you said, learn to love yourself, learn who you are, and then speak yourself, too, so that you're not hiding who you are all the time. Really express yourself. And don't be afraid of what other people judge you for.
Yeah, actually, I did a paper in college on some of this self-identity type thing. And there is a real phenomenon. You'll find out some of these people who were not popular at all in high school suddenly become popular in college.
Yes.
And a lot of the popular kids in high school are nobodies there. And it completely wipes them out or
they can't adjust.
It's hard.
Or in my case, I went to a school where my grade had a lot of smart kids. Like I think I graduated with like a 3.85 and I was 19th in my class. Like we had 3 National Merit Scholars from my grade. And I found out as an adult, a lot of them dropped out of college.
Yeah.
Because they were used to being the smart kid. And then got
suddenly,
1C and they didn't know what to do with their life anymore because they were always the smart kid.
Yeah, they're the A students suddenly thrown into a class of A students graded on the curve, and suddenly they're the B students and they couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I understand that. I did really well in my little tiny town, but I guess the nice thing about it is I never took that to heart. I never really built it. I always looked at myself as being a tiny town. I kept that persona of I'm only a big fish here because it's a tiny town. And then when I went to college, it didn't bother me at all. So
that's the whole message here, I think,
yeah.
too. Or a big chunk of it. And also now you know why one of Namjoon's nicknames with the fans, especially American fans, is President Namjoon. They want him to run in 2020.
Well, anyone
because he gives good speeches.
Yeah, anyone could run.
And
I
also,
do better right now than what I'm used to seeing now.
It also led to a lot of jokes because right after this they did a talk show circuit here, and there was a lot of jokes about. Because at this particular assembly, many of our politicians also spake, including our dear president. And a lot of people were, who was it? I think it was Jimmy Kimmel was making the joke of, Trump was speaking. They're like, yeah, well, everybody else had different things in mind. They went to one UN person, he had headphones on. They're like playing BTS music like softly in the back. But yeah, I always found this very powerful, and it makes me sad so few people only pay attention to their idol side and not the actual work they're doing, because I don't know a ton of people who have reached their level of fame who have kept up their level of charity.
Right.
Because especially with a couple of them, they've extended their charity to continue being the same percentage with their wealth.
Yeah, I've seen so many child actors who suddenly realize they have enough money, they don't have to listen to their parents, they do whatever they want, and they just destroy their lives. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen with them. It doesn't sound like it is.
No, I don't. I think they're also kind of past that point if they were going to, because the youngest is turning 22 this year, and the oldest is turning 27 this year.
Right.
So if they're all still humble at like 27, I wonder
Yeah.
if they'll have the crash and burn.
Well, I've even
And they all
seen,
have to do military service too.
Yeah, I've seen some of the older actors and actresses who try to break out of their molds that they've been put into, and then just become horrible actors and things like that.
Yeah,
Do,
the older
do anything
crash.
to try to prove to the world that they're not in that box,
Yeah.
and just
Or just,
go
depression
really,
and
really
stuff.
bad.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I and everybody hopes that they do okay because they have opened up after the fact about struggles they've had. I know one of them talked about wanting to be honest with the fans about having a real alcohol problem a year or so ago. So now he's like, if you don't see me drinking, I don't drink when I'm sad anymore, or I don't.
Right.
Or eating disorders were a
Right.
big deal for them.
Well, if they stayed true to exactly what he was saying
Yeah.
now, they'll do fine.
That's their main focus right now,
Mm.
is trying to do that. They haven't said it. I think that their CEO got them all into therapy because very suddenly they became very into psychological theory and becoming as good as they can be, like working through their issues.
Well, it could also simply be if that's the cause that they're leading.
Yeah.
They've studied it out and realized, hey, if you're going to love yourself, you have to be doing things you think are worthwhile.
Oh, definitely. I just
And-
meant the fact they're
right.
doing Jung stuff,
But I mean that they could
this has
have
always
been
been
just
their
learning
thing.
it from the charity the work that they're doing.
well, their whole group, they're named Bangtan Sonyeondan.
Mm-hmm.
In English, an easy translation is Bulletproof Boy Scouts.
Right.
But when you hear them talk about it, the meaning behind especially Bangtan is like a shield to block bullets. So their name to them technically means they're the barrier protecting the youth
Right.
from like their whole thing has always been protecting young people from violence, protecting,
Right.
speaking for the young generation. And at least one of them, more have alluded to it, but at least one of them has been very blunt about being horribly bullied
Right.
in school. And we obviously don't know their pasts with domestic violence or anything, but
Yeah, but the
This
more
has always
the
been a
more you
thing.
love yourself, the harder it is to be bullied.
yeah.
I mean, when people used to say mean things to me, it didn't bully me because I didn't give them any credence.
Yeah. So this was V.
Mm-hmm.
He, the story he told was about being young and getting invited to this kid's birthday party that he really wanted to be friends with. And so he bought a gift card for him because that was popular then, was to give gift cards. And the friend said, oh, meet us here. We're all going to this water park. And he went and waited for 4 hours and they just stood him up. And he ended up calling and saying, can I just drop off your present because I bought you one? And they just treating him really badly physically like that even.
Right.
But he said as an adult, he met that guy again and they're actually okay friends now. And he said, I was just so jealous that you got along with everyone.
Mhm.
I was jealous that you were so confident.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like what you were saying there. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, I'm glad that you liked it. I wanted to show you a different side of them that we haven't
Mm-hmm.
super
I'd
focused
actually
on.
seen a talk he'd given, not this one, another speech he'd made, and so I already knew that the type of
He was capable.
things he was
Yeah.
capable of doing, and so I was already impressed with that.
Good. I was gonna say, and also he wrote it. Impressive for someone whose first language isn't English.
Yeah, and you can tell he wrote it because there's some things that speechwriters wouldn't have put in,
Yeah.
but he put them in, which
Yeah.
is good.
Yeah. He was speaking himself.
Yes.
So yeah, I don't know. I could talk about President Namjoon forever. But how do you guys feel? This is to me everything that BTS is about. So as people who are self-proclaimed BTS fans, I think it's something for us to talk about and embody. Don't bully if you say you're a BTS fan. I see a lot of your Twitter comments. Maybe not our clubbies, but practice what you preach, y'all.
Yeah.
And let's just chat. Let's talk about loving ourselves and speaking ourselves and as they often like to show, the hard process of learning to love yourself. It's not easy.
Right.
And you'll make mistakes and you won't always feel good about yourself and you might even hate yourself. But loving yourself is a painful, introspective, long-term struggle. And I think we should all be trying hard.
And the more that you're doing what you know is what you feel is right, and the more you're helping others and putting others first, the more you're going to love yourself. And if you're Army, listen to that speech, not the speech that comes from most of the politicians that are surrounding them, because most of them have it wrong. You have a chance to make it right.
Yeah.
So love yourself by doing things that you know you will love about yourself. Become who you could be and who you should be, not what other people have pegged you to be. And then let this older generation go away.
Right.
and change it.
I often think, I am so glad these boys have tens of millions of young fans around the world, because this is what they're going to idolize now.
Right.
And I think I've already seen the next generation. They're actually almost done now. Gen Z is about to become a new generation. So I don't know what their name is yet. Like, my generation became the millennials. I don't know what Gen Z is going to be named.
I think we're the brittle generation. You're the
well,
ones that,
you're 58. You're like
I'm
1958? You were born in 1958?
Okay, I was thinking, no, I'm older than that.
No,
Yeah.
but I mean, you straddled the baby boomers and Gen X.
Right.
I believe. No, you're a baby boomer, I think.
I was in a trough between two booms.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Mom was the one who straddled.
Yeah.
No, wait, you would, because you would straddle Gen X and the baby boomers, because Gen X was technically like end of 1950s to 1980-ish.
Yeah. I just know that there weren't many boys my age and things like that, because it was kind of like this whole group of boys, then me, and then this group of boys coming later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even in your family, you poor thing.
Yeah.
Smack in the middle of 6 sisters. 4 sisters. 6
4.
brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I understand how women think better than how men think.
Because you were surrounded by them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, all of that to say, love yourself, speak yourself, know yourself, and continue.
And don't
watching.
learn from this older generation who doesn't get it.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to say, I don't know what their name is. I actually have seen a lot of hopeful things from the young generation, and things like this made me think, maybe they will, like, kind of flood over the current leadership, because they've all seen some of the worst of it. And some of the young people, like BTS's age, I've never seen more charity and outreach from wealthy, like, late-stage millennials. There's a lot of them doing good stuff, so it gives me hope.
And with the world getting smaller and smaller and smaller,
yeah,
and cultures integrating more and more and more, maybe we can get past some of this prejudice.
I hope so. I think so. You're seeing in a lot of countries the younger generation breaking some long-held traditional problems like prejudices and racisms and stuff like that. So I'm hoping so too. I actually am. If the sun doesn't kill us and nuclear bombs don't kill us, I'm actually really hopeful about the future. And I think a part of that is I learned about these guys and saw their effect on so many teenagers. And it made me really happy. My dog just sank. It was fun to see a stadium of 90,000 people singing I Love Myself at the top of their lungs. So, I don't know. It's good. Love yourself, know yourself, speak yourself.
I think it would be more fun to see them saying they love me. But still.
Well, I mean, join a boy band and they'll chant your name.
Oh, no. They would be saying, get off the stage.
You could be the piano player in the background, or
if I could play the piano.
I was just thinking classical. A drummer. You could be a drummer. The Army would still love you. If you're at all involved with them, they would love you. There's a whole fan club right now for their manager.
Oh, yeah?
Who just ends up in, like, the corner of some of their pictures, and people, like, try to find manager station because he lives with them. He's been with them forever. But I tried to end this video a few times, so I'm sorry. It's like
That's
Return
right.
of the King in here.
Okay.
We keep having false endings. Love yourself, know yourself, speak yourself, and until next time.
Live long and prosper.
Also, like, comment, subscribe to both of us.
That's right.
Bye.
Bye.